Hi witches, so today I wanted to make a video specifically for the newer witches or baby witches that might be watching. Hello, welcome to my channel. If this is your first video with me, hello, I'm doing this all year and I have like 100 plus videos, so definitely check them out, and also my social media is linked below. Anyways, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Becca. I've been a practicing witch for about 10 years now. I specialize in deity work as well as hearth, hedge, kitchen, and like green magic. When I was kind of like coming up in the scene in magic, in the witchcraft scene, I always heard the term like fluffy bunny thrown around in like kind of a derogatory way, and I kind of feel like the term baby witch is being used that way these days. It's almost kind of seeming to me to be derogatory. I could be wrong. I've heard people calling themselves that. I don't really know, but I tend to not use that term. I'll probably use the term new witch or like novice practitioner, but I'll use all of it interchangeably. It's just someone who's new to the practice, it's fine. So anyways, I wanted to give you guys some tips from me, someone who's been doing this for like a lot of my life. I'm an old crone at this point. And just some stuff that I did that maybe like don't do. Okay, so my first and foremost piece of advice is not to like jump in financially, like with 2 feet, unless you're really prepared to do that. Getting all of my tools and stuff, I've accumulated them over like 10 years, so it's not like I just went out to the witch store and bought like the beginner witch kit. I forged like tons and tons of stuff out of my parents' like basement. Yeah, like when I was 14, I completely decimated our Halloween decoration box because like at that point I was like also a goth but like also practicing witchcraft, and there was just a lot of cool witchy shit in there. I like claimed some of their like old and like unused furniture that was just like sitting in our basement, and like candles or just like random like dishes and like kind of like tchotchkes and stuff. I always had like cool kind of like fantasy books. Both my parents were really into Lord of the Rings. Like I'm obviously very into Lord of the Rings. I also really liked the Spiderwick Chronicles when I was a kid. I don't know if anyone remembers those. They made a really bad movie out of one of them, I think, but like the books were really good. I had the like field guide that had like all the illustrations of all like the fairies and stuff. I'm pretty sure I still have it. It's like a beautiful art book. Like I said, my parents both like were really into like medieval stuff, like Lord of the Rings and all of that. So like I definitely I had a lot of stuff that I could use to put together a sacred space for essentially $0, right? Okay, so there are some witchy shops that might sell like beginner witch kits that have like a whole bunch of tools in them, and I think those are good sometimes. Like if you're genuinely like, hey, I want to just experiment with all of these different kinds of tools and I don't mind spending like $75+ on everything, then definitely go for it. But I kind of want to, I don't know, like warn people against doing that, because a lot of the tools that come in those boxes you may not actually use regularly in your craft. So like why spend money on it if you're not going to use it? Even worse than that, there are like some places like H&M that were selling like beginner witch kits that like had basically just a bunch of trash in it. Don't buy that kind of stuff. Like don't buy the mass-produced shit. Like I really recommend finding your own tools. I think that like when you choose and repurpose like things that you find out and about that are kind of like mundane, it just makes your witchcraft a little bit more personal. Again, it's completely up to you. I occasionally will go into an occult store and buy specific tools, like books and candles and cauldrons and stuff like that. But a lot of my stuff has either been like given to me, found at a thrift store, or like at an antique store or something. So yeah, I recommend kind of personalizing your craft instead of going for the mass-produced stuff. 2 is to literally read like everything. Like I mean, read the Bible, read the Quran, read like the Bhagavad Gita, the Poetic Eddas, like all of it, read everything. But also take everything that you read with like a huge grain of salt. And I know that kind of sounds like a BS thing to say, where it's just like read everything, but like don't believe it. But like expose yourself to different beliefs. What I mean by that is like I think that people should just strive to learn about the world that we live in as much as possible. So like there's just so much information about like spirituality and like mythology and legends and science and healing and like all of these aspects that kind of like touch in like modern witchcraft, right? So it's good to like sniff out like the information that is pertinent to you and your craft and your personal witchcraft, but there may be things that like work for one person but may not work for you. Don't want people to be like discouraged or anything if something that, you know, very famous author said would work, or even if I said something like, oh, here's how you do X, Y, and Z, and it may work perfectly fine for me, but it doesn't necessarily like work for you and your craft, and that's totally fine. So that's what I mean by like, take everything with a grain of salt. Just because someone wrote it down and because it worked for them, it may not work for you, so don't be discouraged. My best advice is to learn the basic techniques of witchcraft, which hopefully you guys are kind of like grasping in this video series, but apply them to your craft in your own unique way is what I would recommend for newer witches. Number three is really personal to me, and this is a topic that we're going to be talking about all throughout May, so I hope you guys are ready. But I just want to let everyone know that deity work is not scary. Like, I feel like people are really hyped up where you like have to like dedicate yourself to a practice. You have to do it every day. That's not the reality. That's not my reality, I should say. I've had a really profound experience working with my deities. I feel like people kind of discourage newer witches from seeking out deities, but the reason I started practicing witchcraft is because of my connection with the Morrigan and with her Nor Cernunnos. So they've really just been with me since the beginning. So I never really understood. I personally never really understood that. Looking back, do I see that it was kind of a big responsibility? Yeah, definitely. I think that it does take dedication to practice and to work with deities and stuff like that. It does take time and energy, but as with like most successful relationships, like that's kind of the same thing. So I think I would caution you to like keep that in mind. Like, you might find yourself like dedicating more time to witchcraft, which is great if you have the time, but it may not be, you know, if it's not something that you're interested in learning at the beginning, that's totally cool. If you are interested and like you're just beginning your path or whatever, deity work is not as scary as you think. You're not going to like incur the wrath of the gods because you didn't light a candle one day. Like, that's not how that works. And all contracts are negotiable. So if you're not able to spend as much time worshiping the deity or working with the deity, and you need to kind of like step back with that relationship, I just talk to them about it. It's not like, I don't think it's as scary of a concept as some people make it out to be. So don't be scared of that. Just be informed. Number 4 is to skip the hexing and cursing. Yep, I've done it. We've all done it. My first spell actually was a curse jar, and it worked like too well. As in, like, I never heard from or saw this person ever again. I don't know where they are or what they did. They dropped off the face of the earth, which is good for me. But looking back as an adult, I was like, oh, wow. So it took a lot out of me. I did suffer some really bad repercussions to my health and in my life, so I wasn't really ready for those consequences. If your protections aren't up, if you haven't done the work prior to learn about what you're actually doing, if you haven't done the requisite work, just like skip it. Just don't do it. Don't do it yet. Yeah, like hexing and cursing is definitely not something that is like requisite for witchcraft. Like, I feel like that is obvious, I hope, but it's really not a requirement. And there are like so many more spells out there that are like way more fun, useful, and like just better for you overall. So you know, I get that like curses and stuff like look fun and it can be alluring, I suppose, but I don't always recommend it, and especially not for beginners. Okay, so my final piece of advice goes out to the young witches, and I'm talking witches who are like maybe like 18 and under if you're watching this, because I know that like that's kind of part of my audience. I think most of my audience is actually like my age, so that's kind of cool. But if you are younger and you're watching this, hello, make sure you're listening to your parents. I know that's really shitty, and I know that's not what you want to hear, but listen to your parents, but like still stay curious. If your parents have like hard boundaries and you would be putting yourself in danger to practice witchcraft, maybe just like give it a rest for now. Still learn, you can still interact with the same sort of media and stuff, but maybe like the actual spellcraft you can work on is like manifestation or meditation, grounding, centering, stuff like that. You know, just broom closet witchcraft. Once you're an old crone like me and you're able to have like infinitely more freedom, trust me, you know, you can do as you please, but for now, maybe like go to the library and read, or do some research, get some ebooks or some audiobooks. Talk to your parents about what you're interested in. I know that's kind of like a hard concept for like teenagers to grasp sometimes. Like, I think I am really lucky in that I had a very great and like open relationship with my mom, so I could kind of tell her anything that I was, you know, going through. I kind of credit her for that too, being the person that I am. So you may be surprised like how much interest they actually have. My mom definitely surprised me when she was like, I want to celebrate the summer solstice, like just one day out of the blue. And I was like, you know what that is? Like, she obviously was listening to me when I didn't think she actually was, or, you know, whatever. So you might be surprised as to how much your parents can actually be a support for you within your spirituality. That's all from me. I know there's more tips out there. I'm sure I will think of more like as soon as I edit and post this video, but I can definitely make a follow-up if you guys want. I just wanted to get some of these across, and to all who are new on this path, I just want to say welcome, and my inbox is always open if you have questions. So I'm always happy to answer them, and I'm happy to help. I have tons and tons of resources if you check the link that is in the description box, and I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.